and welcome to KINETICS, Knowledge and Innovation Network for Ecosystem Transformation and Impact Conversation Series, an initiative of Pune Knowledge Cluster.
Thank you.
KINETICS brings together leaders from science, academia, industry, and policy to explore how knowledge ecosystems are built, how institutions evolve, and how research creates meaningful impact for the society. Today, it's my privilege to welcome Professor Sourav Pal.
Thank you.
Professor Saurabh Pal is one of India's most distinguished theoretical chemists and institution builder. Over the past 4 decades, he has contributed not only to the scientific discovery but also to shaping some of the India's leading research institutions. From nearly 3 decades at CSIR National Chemical Laboratory to leading IISER Kolkata, serving at IIT Bombay, and now contributing to Ashoka University. His career offers a unique perspective of science, leadership, and institutional building. Professor Pal, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
So, I would like to ask few questions to you. India has invested considerably in establishing world-class research institutions over the few past decades. In your view, what transforms a collection of excellent institutions into truly connected and high-performing scientific ecosystem?
Yeah, thank you. You are right that in very recent years, India has invested quite heavily. And through various mechanisms, projects, national missions, and very recently we had the quantum mission, as you know. So all of these are very high valued projects. Mission projects are of course on very specific topics, and then through ANRF and other means they give projects for all others. Plus the government through the institutional channels have invested a lot of money for
Yes.
institutions to procure equipment, set of facilities, and I think most of the important facilities are available in India. In some institution or other, not in every institution, but in some institution or other, even the most costly ones, which was not the case when we started science. And I remember that time we didn't even have a particle size analyzer. So nanomaterial, what is today a microscope, and so the thin films eventually became nanomaterials. But we didn't have that time. We didn't have big computers.
It's maybe in 70s or 80s?
I'm talking of 70s.
70s.
Yeah,
Okay.
70s and partly 80s, you know. So people, mostly in the 70s, I would say, from 80s and the beginning of 90s, things started changing, I must say. And I still remember when I went for postdoc, although I'm a theoretical chemist, I use computer, I have not seen a terminal.
Oh,
Yeah, till I went to USA. And that's a fact. That was in 86. So I had to learn how to switch. What am I going to do with this terminal? Because our idea of doing programming was to write programs, algorithms, and then get it typed on, I don't know if you have seen the cards, each line in one card. You know, they, in Calcutta, later when these cards became obsolete, they were used as a bus tickets.
okay.
Yeah. So, so that's what we used to do. We used to write programs. We used to give it to the operators. They used to type it out. We used to have a deck of cards. If you have a 1,000-line program, you have 1,000 cards.
1,000 cards. Okay.
Yes. And then we used to give it to a computer center person. They will run it back end. They will give us the output. So I didn't know what are they
exactly
doing.
they have done.
What
Yes,
that.
yes.
When I went to US, I had to have a computer. I had to start writing my program on the workstation or on the terminal. So I didn't know how to do that. I said, no, I can write programs. Today it has become reverse. Everybody knows how to handle computer, but ask them to write a program, very few will do that. So starting from equations, how do you write program? So algorithms, many people don't know, particularly unless they're working in computer science or data science, etc., AI, particularly chemistry, biology, they are more used to running a program, software, so clicking mouse, I would say, and not even knowing what is there in this program, the theory behind it, let alone write a code. So that was the situation that it is. And in some sense, we are better off because we learned something else, which has a value-added expertise,
Yeah.
which is somewhat missing today. Because once the technology comes, learning technology doesn't take time. So it didn't take too much time for me to learn what to do in the terminal. Okay. And how does the terminal feed my writing to the computer and eventually and so on. So we learned everything. But the point that I'm saying, the kind of expertise that we started learning at those days were very hard expertise. And they are very difficult to learn later, at later stage of life. Once the technology has come, you are already spoiled. Like even reading books, the journals in the library has now vanished.
Yes.
From many students. They simply download in the laptop. And I always say, once it is downloaded, it's over. When they will open that laptop, I don't know, and read that paper. So, but previously there was no laptop. So we had to go to library, we had to actually pick up the journal, make notes, because you can't take those journals for more than one day. The journals are very difficult. Books you can take for 15 days, 20 days, even in NCL, everywhere. I still remember those days. So we used to sit down, look at the journal, and the important things you should write down. Understand, write down, and that makes a huge difference because you understand. Today that has vanished because you don't need to do that. Simply download, and then student will say, we'll read later at some time. The letter doesn't come many times for them. So that was the situation, and today we have enormous facilities. I was talking of computer, library, digital, but every single thing, that is what has happened. Like NMR, mass spec, electron microscope, everything that you talk of, pulse laser deposition, all kinds of things, single atom deposition, everything that was unthinkable those days can be done today in India. Though many people again use them like they use a computer. It's like a black box. They don't try to learn the theory behind it. It's like a black box, and they just get the result. Now you have to judge whether it is good or bad, because one side you have the facilities to do science, another side some of the expertise is vanishing. The expertise is vanishing, and that is a dangerous thing, which is also happening with AI. AI is also a tool, I must say, that is at our disposal today. I mean, of course, there is no China, India, US, because it is a completely democratic digital space. So we have what everybody else has anyway. But I'm worried. Students getting answers from AI.
Yeah.
I'm worried. Let's assume that a day will come when AI is not there. What will happen to us? What is the expertise? People don't know. So today I'm telling, questions are important, not answers. Answers have become cheap. Questions have become expensive. So you give a paragraph, and I'm going to do that in Ashoka. I will give a paragraph. I will ask students frame questions based on this paragraph. The people who will get top grades are the people who will frame best questions. Best questions should be quite a question that can be answered after reading the paragraph in a deep manner, not just taking a line and asking a question. Then you will realize the student has to understand the paragraph, frame a question. But the same question, if I give it to them, they will find out the answer.
Because AI is there.
Yeah, AI is there. So then AI has to be trained to frame good questions based on the paragraph, which is not very easy. AI can answer. You frame question, AI will answer. So that is a change that is going to happen because of the technology. Second is that contents are no longer going to be important. Because contents are available in Google. You don't need to have the contents. What is electron microscope? You don't need. I mean, you just do Google, you'll find out. What is going to be important in classroom teaching is to connect the dots. There is a dot here. So I say context is more important than the content. Very recently I gave a AI education in the era of AI a talk in the 126th Foundation Day of Cotton University in Guwahati very recently, last month. So I said that the connecting the dots will become more important than the dots themselves. The dots are available. So context over content. That's going to be the theme. Questions over answers. So AI is a danger, but it can be very useful if you use it properly. So this is the general scenario in India, that we now have invested facilities, we have a lot of money, and probably you will like to wonder, has it helped? I think that might be the question, that how much it has helped the Indian ecosystem. And I'll have comments on that as we go forward. Yeah.
Okay. Despite the presence of outstanding scientific institutions, meaningful collaboration across academia, industry, government, and society often remains limited. So, what is your opinion?
Yeah.
Are the underlying barriers to building integrated research ecosystems in India?
Yeah. So one problem is that we are all working in silos.
Yeah,
That is a very big problem. We don't want to collaborate. So we don't want to share things also very transparent manner, and that has become a problem for integration. The integrated ecosystem that you're talking of has become a real problem. People are trying chemistry biology interface in a very limited way, but in the real sense these things are not happening because of our own problems, individual problems, credit silos, and so on. The second thing I can tell you, that institution can have a lot of facilities, but institution will only grow provided you have a proper manpower. I remember the quote that I was given by the quote by Sir C.V. Raman when he came to inaugurate NCL in 1950, 3rd of January. He said that building is very good, facilities will come, but this will alone not make a great institution.
Without people.
Without people. It is the men and women who will walk in the corridor, something like that he wrote, which will decide how great NCL will be. The quality of human resources. And I think that is a very, very important thing. And sometimes we are forgetting that, because the human resources have to work original, not just use the facilities to do research which is being done outside. So many of our problems is that people come from postdoc, frankly speaking, outside the academia, and academia continues to do the same work as their postdoc advisors have done for at least first 3 to 5 years. I'm not saying whole life, but first 3 to 5 years. And that's a long enough time. After that, it will become very difficult for them to establish themselves, their own research. Otherwise, they become still appendix to what they have done before. That is a serious problem in the academia, though they are publishing in good journals. But what is the impact? The impact is not even in the citations. You can show I have 1,000 citations. No, that's not the impact. The impact is a visible impact, where people outside will quote that this is the work that he has done or she has done. So somebody who has done in Cambridge or Oxford or Harvard, why are that universities are famous? Because they have a visible impact of research. I was in UCL, I remember University College of London, I think in 2013, 14, some such time. I asked somebody, I think it was Richard Catlow, who was a great theoretical chemist. He was a good friend of mine and a senior friend, senior colleague. So I asked him that what was the ranking of UCL this year?
Okay.
And there are others. They said, frankly speaking, we don't look at the rankings. We don't care. Because why you don't care? Because we know we are among the top 5 or 6. We are confident, but we don't ourselves check whether it is 4 or 5 or 6. So that's the kind of confidence. If you look at the universities, no, Harvard, MIT, Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College, UCL, they're usually in the top 6 of most ranking, Times Higher Education, QS. But why are they there? Not because of just the numbers, because of the visible impact. the work that gets done has a visibility outside. That is missing in India
In India.
research. I mean, by and large, I'm not saying that there is no visibility, but of course, there are a lot of people who are doing great work. Fundamental science, I must say, there is a lot more good work in India. The translation has been the problem. And for translation, you need an ecosystem where people would collaborate and do. So, Harvard, MIT, if you go to that Boston area, there are people who are Nobel laureates and have many companies, both. So, that's not happening. So, that is because of this ecosystem is missing. Ecosystem of incubation, innovation that is missing. How to translate your science. So, that is why I believe that small scale, whether it is this knowledge cluster, whether it is RISE IISER, whether it is IISER Pune, NCL Venture Center, Research Park IIT Madras, SINE IIT Bombay, these are all big innovation complexes. I hope all of them will make an impact to bring people together and get them away from just doing fundamental science and not looking at translation. So I always say there are three quadrants actually. Bohr quadrant, which is the fundamental science, only fundamental science. There is Edison quadrant, which is only application based on low science. That is, you can say jugaad.
Okay.
But then there is a Pasteur quadrant, which is called science-led application, high science-led application. And that is what one has to be. High science, based on that, great applications. So that is not happening. Those who are in Bohr quadrant are fundamental scientists. And they think that my science cannot be applied and they are very happy. They feel proud actually sometimes that my science is so high fundamental science that it cannot be applied. So many of them have this problem that happens in US, UK, but more so in India. China has broken through, if you notice. So that I would say, one of the main reasons that those who are doing fundamental science, they are not looking at the prospect of innovation. They think that is somebody else's job. I will not do it. Although they are publishing good papers, they are not looking at the translation, and hence, although the facilities are there, that visible impact is not coming. That something new coming from India is just not there. So that is what is my take. But you are right that India has invested heavily in equipment today, and using that we must do better.
Thank you. Having served in leadership roles across CSIR NCL, IISER Kolkata, IIT Bombay, and now Ashoka University, what enduring leadership principles have guided you in building institutions that remain relevant, resilient, and future ready?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you become a leader, there's a rare opportunity that you build completely new institution. Sometimes you go when the institutions are already established. So you, like when I went to NCL, IISER was in the somewhat de novo stage, but it was getting established. So you do something that system is already there. So you have to carry the system. There are defects in the system which you can change, which you have to change. So I think a leader has to think that whatever I have inherited, certainly good points must continue, but whatever I have inherited, everything should not change. But wherever the changes are required, one has to make the changes. And that is where there is a leadership, how to change that. There are two important aspects of leadership. One is recruitment, recruiting good people. So you have to recruit high quality people. We try to do that in NCL. I have done that also in IISER Kolkata, because I believe, as Professor C.V. Raman, Sir C.V. Raman said, if you have good people, the work will happen.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to IISER Kolkata, there was no innovation complex, although they're all doing fundamental science. So I said that we will have innovation complex.
You were the first director of IISER Kolkata?
No, I was not the first one. But before that, there are two more directors.
Okay.
But there was no innovation complex. Nobody thought of it. So I said we will go to DST Nidhi scheme and we'll apply. There's a call and everybody said, what are you doing? You are wasting your time. Because IISER is for doing publications. I said, no. Why should IISER be only for public education? Science and innovation should go hand to hand. So I went there. Professor S.K. Joshi, I remember, was chairman of the committee. He was very generous. He gave us the money, saying that IISER Kolkata is in Haringhat actually, near, it's a village. So many people doubted whether it will succeed there. See, succeeding in Pune is much easier,
It's
right?
easy,
Ecosystem is there.
yeah.
But in Haringhat, it's very difficult. So Professor Joshi said, if anybody can make it successful, it is him. So give him the money. I still remember we got even more than what we asked, I think, which is very rare. But still, within IISER, there are a lot of naysayers who say, no, I mean, why should we worry about innovation? That's somebody else's job. I had to create a space, 20,000 square feet DST wanted. So I created a space, and a lot of people I had to convince why it is so. And then the COVID came. So a lot of time we wasted. But even then, I would say today, we are the founder directors, and the rise has come to a point where there are a lot of startups. Now there are more than 60 startups in different area. Agri is a very important area because there is a very important agricultural university close to IISER Kolkata, Bidhan Chandra Krishi Vidyalaya. So agri-tech startup, bio startups, many of them are bio-agricultural startups, medical startups, diagnostics. But it is happening. What we need to do is the next step. That is a high science-led startup, where there is a new science. Based on that, somebody has to do startup. So I think the leadership has to enable that. Leadership has to talk to the students. Undergraduate students are great for doing this such innovation. So one is recruitment, second is looking at innovation along with doing high science. That should be leadership's job, because that will not be done by everybody. So it has to be leadership job. Individual publications, once you have a good science people, they will themselves do.
They will prove themselves.
They will
Yes,
prove
yeah.
themselves. You have to only enable them. So how do you enable them? That is the third thing that I will say for leadership. Give them access to facilities. Get facilities. So fight with the government, fight with the private ventures to get facilities. All instruments should be in running conditions. So that should be leadership next job. So that you have enough facilities where the people who want to work will work. So to get that, a very important part is budgeting. So I also say that leadership must do proper budgeting, so that fight for money, getting money, distribute money, give it to the right people. Some amount of money can be distributed equally, but a chunk of money should not be distributed equally. Should be given to people whom you trust that they will do. I have done that in HCL. I have done that in IISER. And I think that is very important. You have to think who is the person who is going to actually do it. And that is a very important leadership role, not just getting money, because sometimes you get money and distribute equally. So everybody gets distributed very thinly and nothing happens finally.
So finding the capable person is
Capable
also
person,
important.
first you have to recruit,
Yeah.
then enable them. And then in our science institution, innovation is something new. You have to try to enable the innovation. Get good facilities with that money so that people can use them. And those are the few things which are very important for research, at least. Teaching is completely different. Teaching is more individual. So I always tell that today, what is the teaching? Teaching is inspiring, because everything is available. But students are not inspired to read them. So teaching is actually about inspiring students in the classroom. They will come to your class because they are inspired by you. They will learn because they are inspired to learn. And that is very, very important. So again, I would say request that most of the faculties, because this is an individual job, it's very hard for the leadership to address, very hard to leadership to kind of do it. But they can address, of course. So I believe many people are teaching. Of course, everybody is teaching. That's the primary job in all these academic institutions, not necessarily in CSIR labs. Even there is some kind of teaching today going on. DST, DBT, another. They are mainly research institutions, but IIT, IISER, NIT, central universities, and so on, everybody has to teach. I'm not sure how well they're teaching in terms of inspiring students. Many people are doing it as a matter of routine teaching. I think that leadership has to see that the teaching also goes one level higher. So some of these things, as a leader, you take care. I think the institute do well. In CSIR, there is a problem that many people feel, directors also, I don't want to say anything, but leadership feels that everybody has to do application because it's Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. But they forget it's a scientific and industrial research. Who will do good fundamental science, who will do application, is something that will depend on that individual. Somebody who is very good in doing fundamental science, you can't ask that person to do application. Go and run a pilot plant. You can't do that because person will not be motivated. Person who is very good in application, you can't say, no, you will be judged by fundamental science. It is a leadership job how to judge people.
How to find the expertise and correct.
And they have to do that, what they are good at. And yet, as I said, there has to be hand-holding because high science must go to the people who are doing application. If they are completely isolated, then nothing will happen.
Yeah.
So even after doing that, leadership may find there is no translation, no posture quadrant, nothing in posture quadrant, simply because the hand-holding is not there. That is leadership job, that you have done a fundamental science, good paper, congratulate that, you are doing application, can you now do a translation? Can they hold hands? That's another job that the leadership has. And I think it's very difficult. What I'm talking is utopian. Nobody, including me, can actually do it perfectly. But since you have asked the question, I would say that is what the leadership is all about. And of course, leadership should be accessible. That is very, very important. Sometimes they, close themselves in the room. That's not good. They should be accessible. They have to have a human touch so that, they look at everybody in a very human way. I think all that will make good leaders. Some people are very good, but they are not human. Human in the sense that they don't have a human touch. And so I think that is also very important, to create an atmosphere where the employees and everybody can work in the peace. So, getting peace is very difficult. When I went to IISER Kolkata, that was my biggest challenge. The peace was not there.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I must tell you that, peace was not there. So one of my major work at the IISER, people will also acknowledge, if you ask anybody, that my major task was actually to bring peace. Although I feel my major task was to get IISER Kolkata very high in the ranking by inspiring people to do work. It went very high in the ranking, Nature Index, in the all ranking, get people to publish very good papers, have innovation complex. That was also a very major job. And lots of other administrative things like getting our school affiliated to IISER Kolkata. So a lot of other small mundane things, but they are very important for an institution to survive, particularly when you are away from the big city. There are many small things. Getting a better hospital or medical centers, all this they have to do. Parks, for people to play, playgrounds, everything has to be done. But many people feel that the best thing that I have done is to bring peace.
That's important
That's
thing.
important. Then I realized that the HR is very important, human resource.
Academia, industry, and government each play indispensable roles within the innovation system, yet their expectations and approaches often differ. What do you believe is the most fundamental disconnect among these stakeholders?
Yes, so this is what I was telling. The industry academia disconnect we see every day. And I think if you ask me why there is a disconnect about industry academia, there is whether you like it or not, there is a mistrust. Academia thinks, oh, industry is something not for us, they will do something not very high science. Industry thinks that the academia will not be able to do translation. They are not interested. So honestly speaking, academia industry disconnect is because of a mistrust. But
how we can build this trust?
Yes, so this trust building is very important. So I believe in the beginning there should be more academia industry meet. When you have academic conferences, we hardly invite industry people. All keynote speakers, plenary speakers will be from IITs, IISERs. I don't want to say anything. All of them are good. But why not from industry? Very rarely you'll find in an academic conference. Industry conference, again, very few academic people are there. So I think that has to be broken. that people have to talk to each other, what can be done. Industry also has to be forthcoming in giving grant for doing a project. So that is, Indian industries are not very, it's not very easy to get money from Indian industries. In abroad, they do it. I mean, the Sony companies, big companies, I'm saying, Samsung, they will build their R&D center inside the university so that people can collaborate. They can go walk to the academician, talk to them, and talk to each other. So that is the academia industry uh, disconnect. Government actually is supposed to bring them together in some sense, but government has powers, but the powers have not necessarily been used in this direction. So I agree that these three are very important pillars: industry, academia, and government. And government has to play a role of enabling, bringing this industry academia together by maybe regulations, rules, whatever. I think that is very, very important, I would say, from the government side. And making policies, for example, which are very important. I mean, today I am actually chairman of the Chemical Division Council. I mean, actually, I am chairman of the Chemical Division Council of Bureau of Indian Standards. I must tell you that that's one of my jobs. I have been doing that since 2014 when I was director NCL. They have extended me another 3 years till 29. So 15 years I will be continuing. And I find that's one of the big problems, because the whole job is to have chemical industry set up standards for chemical industries. People who are setting standards, and many of them are in the academia, they are in the committee. Some industry people are there. Again, what industries' needs are, what academia thinks would be good for the country, what kind of standards. So it's a very important job. And this is the Chemical Council, the overall council and chairman. But there are sectional committees which are working under the council. So there also sometimes we find that there is a disconnect. That's what I wanted to say, between industry and the academic committee members, their thoughts and ways. And of course, there are certain things which just cannot be done. If you want a drinking water to have a Euro standard, it's very difficult in India, not because of any processes, because the raw groundwater is different. Again, the same thing that I was talking, that in chemical industries, the raw chemicals are extremely important. So the groundwater is not as good. So you can't reach the Euro standard of drinking water. Now we are trying to reach. I mean, now drinking water has become very good in India. But I mean, that was the problem. The groundwater has to be good. So in many such cases, we can't say that the company has to have a standard which is born in Europe or America or Japan, because it's just not possible in India. So I think being there, I have learned that this requires a lot of thinking. The academia has to think. Academia just cannot borrow standards from abroad and say that you must do it. So that
We
is
have
one
to
of the connect.
develop
Yeah,
our own things.
yeah, own things, and what is possible to do. So being in that kind of committee for a long time, I have realized that there has been a disconnect over a period of time, and I hope now it is much better than maybe 20 years back or 30 years back. It's much better now. And with the innovation complexes, the government investing money. See, all these BIRAC, DST Nidhi are all government investments. Today, when you do a startup, I always tell that you don't have to spend your own money. You get grant.
Yeah.
So grant essentially means that even if you even if you don't succeed, it will not go from your pocket. It's just like a DST grant. You write another project. You write a startup project because there is no industry which is ready to take. You believe in that idea, so you start. You write for the government. What do the NCL Venture Center, what the IISER will do, what the sign will do, is to not only give them space, enable them, but also hold hands to write projects. Many of them don't know how to write good projects, so that they get money. And the government is giving money today, apart from, of course, going to angel investors. Okay, there are good investors who are going to give money, but government is giving money. So I think today's situation has changed dramatically in last 10, 12 years. That the investment towards incubation complex, startups has increased many folds. In fact, many people tell me that it is easier to get money for a startup than a fundamental science program. I don't know if it is true because I'm not writing any project right now, but that's what many people tell me. So I think things are changing for
Things
the
are
good.
changing.
Yeah.
Okay. Pune possesses an exceptional concentration of universities, research institutions, and industrial and R&D organizations.
Right.
What additional ingredients are required for the city to emerge as a globally recognized knowledge and innovation
Yeah.
cluster?
So I think when I was talking of innovation, it requires ecosystem. I told you, Pune has the already got an ecosystem. And that's why NCL Venture Center has succeeded. Because Pune had an ecosystem, as you just now said, it has the rich talent, cultural, intellectual, people ready to invest. Though I think probably Mumbai is ahead of Pune in that sense. But Pune has the right ecosystem. It has the right people. So I have a lot of hope that Pune should be a big innovation hub in the country. And of course, knowledge cluster. Knowledge cluster is not just Pune knowledge cluster. It's a cluster of all knowledges that exist. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Pune should lead by an example. Maybe there are other cities like you said, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Kolkata. But certainly Pune is one of the major hubs of knowledge today in the country. And I believe only thing that would require now is to connect all of them. I keep talking about this connection. This connection is what is missing in India. We have, just like I said, contents are there. Teaching is about connecting, context. So that is the only thing that is missing in our country as a general rule. Less in Pune than other places. So Pune has better hope.
Do you think clusters like Pune Knowledge Clusters will be useful or beneficial in
Very, very
futures?
much, very much, very much. I think your outreach is very important. How much you can reach out to the people, talk about the knowledge clusters, and maybe look at the expansion of knowledge cluster. Maybe you work with the government, see how more space can be obtained, so that you can have the hand holding webinars. Webinars, of course, you can organize to do this innovation. You can have workshop here, small workshop, 30, 40 people, and you know, show them how to do startup. That's what venture center is to do, right? Sunday program. So a lot of things you can do with the knowledge cluster that will give this connect. So what we did in venture center is also to connect society people. We used to call eminent people for the society, not necessarily science, just to be there, understand what we are doing. So I keep coming back to this connection that just connect, things will work. The talent is there in Pune.
Thank you for sharing this. India consistently produces outstanding scientific ideas and research. In your experience, where does the innovation pipeline most commonly lose momentum from discovery to deployment?
I think I already discussed this previously. So this is the same problem that one is the many times the belief of the people, those who are doing fundamental science, is their ego. Second is the mistrust that innovation is very difficult, so the fundamental scientists don't want to do. And the third is the ecosystem, which, as I said, is already happening. The government is giving grant, so there are more and more startups, innovation clubs are coming up, but it has to happen in much bigger way. I completely agree, and that is where this kind of knowledge cluster should spread. That it is not just be an academic thing. You see, in India, the problem is you do PhD, postdoc, and go for academic job. That's what they think. But these alternative science careers in terms of startups is very, very important. And that is what we are mentioning. I even say alternative science career of outreach, science communication is also very, very important. But the science communication should not simply be communicating on a particular subject. This communicating the idea of doing research, connecting to innovation is what is very important. So I think India is going in the right direction, but many other countries are moving faster. So that's the only thing that we have to worry. Like China, for example, European countries, their base is already strong, US. So, but India is moving in the right direction. That's a good thing.
Okay. How do you foresee AI reshaping the structure, culture, and functioning of research institutions themselves?
Yeah, so I talked about AI in education, that this is going to become a problem. So we have to emphasize context over content, questions over answers. And yeah, this is a very important point that you mentioned, that AI is going to reshape education, but very, very importantly, research. And I think we have to make sure that, because today many people are just writing things based on AI. I can see even letters that the students write, they're all AI written, AI generated. And if you write publications like that, it will not be accepted, because people are doing AI check, as all of you know, that any document you submit. So I don't think AI is going to give you original idea. AI is not going to give you Nobel Prize winning idea, right? Because AI does what already exists and tries to kind of scale up. So I think good research, original research, cannot be done by AI. That people have to understand. AI will do only routine things. Abstract, you read a paper, AI can give you an abstract quickly, executive abstract, because you don't have time to read. Those things AI can do, but your research has to be done by you. That is my point. And the help of AI in research can be done, but only for a specific thing. Like you want to abstract something very quickly, you want to do a literature survey. So those things certainly AI can do. So all the AI tools have to be used with care, and don't believe that AI is going to discover for you, right? I always say that when quantum mechanics was discovered, even if AI would have existed, it would not have discovered, because it's a completely disruptive innovation, disruptive thought, that the particles are not just particles but wave. They have superposition of states. You don't know, only when you measure you know the state.
Yeah.
And every measurement may lead to different states. So this was a completely disruptive innovation. And today, quantum mechanics is leading to technology, quantum information. So now AI is coming in based on what is already known. But the idea that Schrodinger, Heisenberg, Bohr, and all that proposed was completely radical. I don't think AI could have done that. So such disruptive research cannot be done by AI, because AI does based on what is available today, and then they try to do basic extrapolation very quickly, large data. So that is where AI will be very useful. So if you have a large data and you want to scan it, please use AI. There's nothing wrong in using AI tool. I'm not against AI. So nothing wrong, but don't expect AI to do your research. That is fundamental research. That's my only point.
Okay. And if you were advising the next generation of leaders with building India's scientific institutions, what single principle would you encourage them to uphold above all else?
Yeah, I would say that work hard.
Work
I
hard.
think that is going because of computer, AI and all that. People are not working. AI is doing the work. Computer is doing work, not people. So work hard. Learn basics. To the students, I will say learn basics, because basics are always going to be important if you want to do anything real fundamental work. Really fundamental work, you have to start from the basics. So learn basics, work hard, and very importantly, be ethical. That's a very important point. So ethics is very important in doing research and doing any kind of work. So honesty, ethics, hard work, studying the original things is very important. Think. What is required is deep thinking.
Deep thinking.
And that is what I would say would transform India's research scenario.
Okay. Professor Pal, thank you for your sharing your experience and insights with us. Your reflections remind us that building a strong research ecosystem is not only about advancing science, it's equally about building institutions, nurturing collaborations, and creating environments where knowledge can translate into lasting societal impact. That's how we say impact is really important.
Yes.
To our viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us for this episode.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.